Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Derek Carr saga continues to have twists and turns like a roller coaster. On Friday, we learned that Carr has a shoulder injury that could cost him the season. Led me and many others to wonder why in the world you'd go restructure him, attaching yourself financially to Derek Carr for multiple years, knowing you weren't likely going to have him this year. And again, the reason to do that is because you felt Carr could help you win this year. I mean, that's why you would restructure, to free up cap space to go spend money to build around Derek Carr to win this year. That's the, at its most basic level, the point of the restructure. You could have gotten within cap compliance without restructuring Carr. That gave you $30 million worth of cap space to go make other moves to build a roster. That's a big trash pile roster, by the way. But it's fitting because this is a giant trash pile organization right now. It's becoming clearer and clearer every day. So we learned Derek Carr is injured. When did they know? Did they restructure him already without knowing? Weekend goes along. Diana Rossini has the report where she says, Saints knew. Derek Carr leaked this. They didn't want it out there. Derek Carr leaked it out there because he's trying to use it as trade bait. Naturally, I melt over that. One of the least self-aware humans you could possibly imagine in a position of leadership. A quarterback of an NFL team with a 9-figure contract who lacks that much self-awareness. But it's no surprise because that's been who he is. But if you thought that was the punchline, that's the tip of the iceberg. Because what Ari Myrov is reporting brings this to a completely different level. My total disdain for Derek Carr as a human because of how he's handling this. Now, Ari Myrov is with the 33rd team, and you may not know what that is, and that's fine. There's a lot of digital media and new media. But suffice to say, there's a lot of people who listen to Ari Myrov. He's got 790,000 Twitter followers, okay? He's got over 750,000 Twitter followers. He's got an audience. People follow him, okay? Just because he doesn't have ESPN or Fox or NFL Network behind his name doesn't mean he's not credible. Ari Myrov is doing his podcast, the NFL Spotlight, and drops this nugget.
I'll say this now. I don't think Derek Carr wanted to stay with the Saints anymore at the start of the offseason, whether that was a trade or a cut. I think he wanted to be done over there. But after weeks of everyone staying quiet at the beginning of the offseason, the team eventually just restructured his contract on March 8th, right before free agency. And they can do that whenever they want. They didn't need Derek Carr's permission to do that. His side made it very clear they're not doing a pay cut. But this Derek Carr injury that came out all of a sudden on Friday and was reported, the timing made it sound very weird. People around the NFL believe Derek Carr has been trying to get out of New Orleans, and the Saints restructuring his contract was something he wished they did not do.
I'm sorry. What was that last part again?
And the Saints restructuring his contract was something he wished they did not do.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm just not getting it. I think my headphones might be going out, Muse. There might be a short in these. I think Ari Myrov said the Saints restructuring Derek Carr's contract is something he wished they didn't do. Is that what I heard? Can I hear that?
The Saints restructuring his contract was something he wished they did not do.
Oh, I heard that right. Yeah, that's what he said?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Derek Carr didn't want the Saints to restructure his contract.
That's what you just heard.
And we think Ari Myrov, pretty credible?
Yeah.
We're okay with that? Paul, you okay with that? Ari Myrov, you okay with him?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. 3 months ago in January, Catherine Terrell, also very credible, spoke one-on-one with Derek Carr in the Saints locker room about his contract and his future in New Orleans. And the great thing about this ain't some anonymous source. This ain't I heard from. This ain't league sources indicate. What you're about to hear is Derek Carr's voice. Like him saying it. First person. Cat Terrell asked him about a pay cut, which we all know now. He said, we remember the quote, right? I wouldn't take a pay cut. But remember the other part of what he said? Hit it, Muse.
I wouldn't take a pay cut. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Especially with what I put on tape. You know, would I restructure? Absolutely. Like, I always help the team that way, but...
Oh! I wouldn't take a pay cut. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team in that way. Can I hear that again? It was a little muffled because there was a lot of background noise, but I think I heard that right.
Especially with what I put on tape. You know, would I restructure? Absolutely. Like, I'll always help the team that way, but...
Would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team that way. Let me remind you, he offered that information. Cat didn't ask him about a restructure. Cat asked him if he would take a pay cut. And he very plainly said, I wouldn't take a pay cut. Wouldn't do that, especially with what I put on tape. No doubt, Derek, you did an awesome job leading the Saints to a 5-12 record and playing in less than half the season, you jackleg. Nonetheless, wouldn't take a pay cut. She didn't ask him about a restructure. All she asked him about was a pay cut. And he said, no, I wouldn't do that. He brought up restructure. He volunteered that information to make himself seem like the good guy. Would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team in that way. That's an absolute. His words, not mine, not sources, not league sources, not multiple sources, not industry sources, not friend of a family member said, not his agent. Derek Carr, in his own mouth, you know, the orifice above his chin and below his eyes lined in eyeliner. His mouth said that. Would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team that way. Now, he's pissed that the Saints restructured his contract? Yo, how sloppy is this organization? I mean, the imagery of a dumpster fire is so perfect. It's why people say it all the time. Oh, they're a dumpster fire. But saying dumpster fire has become so cliche because everybody says it all the time. I need to find some new imagery to make an analogy with the New Orleans Saints. Like pile of trash, trash can organization, something. I like steaming pile of dung. There's a lot of different ways I could go with this. Maybe you can help me come up with a new way to describe the New Orleans Saints and how sloppy this is. I mean, the Raiders and the Browns, thank you, New Orleans Saints, for becoming the laughingstock of the NFL and taking the mantle from them. I mean, point blank said he would restructure. The team restructures him, and now he's pissed about it, faking a shoulder injury or using a shoulder injury as leverage to try to get a trade after the team already restructured him. Look, there was a handful of ways you could have gone about this offseason. One, Derek Carr take a pay cut, which he said he wouldn't do, but then he offers the whole, I'll always restructure to help the team. So you could restructure, which they did, and they saved $30 million against the cap. Now, I hated that. I said at the time that was a huge mistake because what you did in restructuring Derek Carr, yes, you gained $30 million in cap space this year, but you're still going to be hot trash, and you only did that thinking you were going to have Derek Carr because he helped you win. That in and of itself is a flawed line of thinking because Derek Carr stinks. He's never going to be an elite quarterback. I've been screaming about that now since literally the day they signed him. So you do that, as stupid as it was, but you did that clearly thinking he was going to be your quarterback. Now you're going to have $60 million of dead money next year and $40 million in dead money in 2027 because of the awful deal that you've done with Derek Carr. You could have designated him as a post-U1 release or trade without the restructure. You could have straight up traded him, but who would want that player and that contract? Because as we've said, he's mid with an awful contract. And the final option is the one that I was sitting here pounding this table, imploring Gumsmackin' Mickey and Grandma Gail to do, which is take your freaking medicine. Y'all, you don't have to be someone who spent 20 years in NFL front offices doing deals to understand things that are simple life principles about discipline and consequences. Like, these are things you learn when you're 5 years old. If you go eat a pile of candy at 9 o'clock at night, your stomach's going to hurt. It's going to be hard to sleep. You know what you do? You don't eat the pile of candy. Hey, don't touch that stove. It's going to burn. What do? You learn the hard way. You know what you don't do ever again? Touch the stove. What do the Saints keep doing? Taking their open palm and slamming that son of a bugger going, it ain't going to burn this time. And then their hand looks like Joe Pesci in Home Alone on the doorknob. You could have played out 2025 with Derek Carr under his existing contract. He would have counted $51 million against the cap. Now, that was stupid. I said last year I wouldn't have restructured him because it was clear to me last year you were going nowhere fast with Derek Carr, but you restructured him. So you could have taken your medicine, counted $51.4 million against the cap this year, and then after this year, you'd have been done. Shoulder injury or not, you'd have been done with it. But now you're going to carry this albatross around your financial neck for 2 more years. And you're not even going to have him this year. You're going to be a giant wad of suck this year. I don't know if you saw it. Odds makers have updated playoff odds. The New Orleans Saints have about a 20% chance of making the playoffs. Minus 600 that they will not make the playoffs. So you're going nowhere this year for the honor of going nowhere and having this albatross hanging around your figurative neck. You get to pay him $60 million against the cap next year when he's not on your roster, and then $40 million the following year. Oh, joy. Meanwhile, right down the street, actually right next door, Gail Benson blows out David Griffin after 6 years when they made the playoffs twice. Gumsmackin' Mickey keeps driving this thing into the ground and just let him keep on. Just let him keep on. I mean, the absolute gross level of incompetence in this organization is stunning. And not only are the decisions bad, but the way it's playing out publicly, the optics of it are even awful. Like, you can go through situations that look bad publicly, but you know the result's going to be positive, so you'll weather that storm of public criticism to get to the end game. But sometimes everything sucks. And that's what this is. You're Andy Dufresne crawling through 300 yards of human excrement. But there is no Mexican island scrubbing your boat at the other end. What's at the other end is more human excrement that you get to crawl through. That's the New Orleans Saints right now. How in the world does Derek Carr 3 months ago tell Catherine Terrell on the record, would I restructure? Absolutely. I'll always help the team that way. And then here we are today with reports that Derek Carr did not want the Saints to restructure him. And he wanted out. And then they go restructure him anyway. To financially commit yourself to a disgruntled quarterback even further. You got a Pinocchio quarterback who publicly says one thing and behind the scenes does another. That's a lack of integrity, by the way. And you got a GM that's too dense to understand why you wouldn't want that guy leading your team. How the hell did they get anybody to take this job? Our guy, Ellen Moore, must have been paid $20 million a year.
Ellen Moore.
How much did Grandma Gail have to pay him? What do you think his contract's worth? He's got to be the richest coach in the NFL. 36 years old, they had to have made him the richest coach in the NFL. Everybody the Saints wanted. They thought they were getting Aaron Glenn. Y'all know that? Like back in October. They were telling people they were getting Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn was like, I don't want your job. I'd rather go to the Jets. They have ruined my Sundays, man. I'm not going to get an ounce of enjoyment out of a Sunday watching football until all of these jokers are gone. Sell the team. Fire Mickey. Sell the team. Grandma Gail can get down to Boca. Spend the rest of her days there. Enjoy it. Enjoy your wealth. Let someone who's competent run this thing. I mean, this is just I can't even wait to see what tomorrow's going to bring. What's tomorrow going to bring? Anybody want to take a guess? I don't know. At this point, they're lining up Cam Jordan to be the starting quarterback. Is that what's going to happen? They're trading the next 7 drafts to go up to 1 to get Cam Ward. Is that what we're going to do? Cam Ward or Cam Jordan? They're going to battle it out for starting quarterback. Might as well be. Who knows with this organization where they are right now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.